Hi, welcome back to another episode of Revolutionary G Talks. For those that don't know me, my name is Giselle Ureña, and I am so happy that you're here with us today. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. And please feel free to get comfortable because we're about to get real good right here. So today, we're going to talk about one of the most important topics that I think we lack to pay attention to and to talk about. And I think this is something that's necessary so that we can build a better relationship amongst our community, amongst our people. And that is Black masculinity and vulnerability. Yes, it's a heavy one. It's a heavy topic, but I want you to get comfortable because we're making this a safe space for you to feel heard, for you to feel welcomed, and for you to also feel that you can connect with the people that are coming to the show. So I want you to help me welcome the Black Kings that I have the honor to have on the show. Thank you so much, guys, for coming and making the time to talk on this matter. Why don't we start with Brandon? Brandon, give a little background about you.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Brandon Lillivois. I'm currently out of Orlando, Florida. Professionally, I'm a professional oncology sales representative. However, for my entire life, I've been extremely interested in self-development, personal development, spiritual growth, and just all around being a better person, maximizing my experience here on earth, and with a very strong understanding that tomorrow's not promised to any of us and we don't know how long we have. So that's really all about me in a nutshell. That's who I am and what I love to do and what I love to talk about every single day.
He's already dropping the mic, y'all. Okay.
And I'm just trying to make sure my lighting is good, the Florida sun.
That's right. Okay, Jeff, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, Jeff, born and raised in Boston. Been a fitness person for the past 6 years. I've been working as a personal trainer, built up my skills, and then kind of like rolled that into like being like an entrepreneur now. Kind of out of the pandemic, started working fully independent for myself. So working through like the highs and lows of running your own business, and pushing my clients to kind of like see success. Because like helping them with that physical change really helps them mentally, really helps them like emotionally. So like it's been a great process to be a part of, and just trying to like grow like the reach of what I'm able to do.
Thank you. Thank you so much and welcome. And last but not least, King Marcia Moore.
Hello, hello. Peace and blessings to everyone. So, I am Marcia Moore, born and raised Greenville, North Carolina. Currently reside in Richmond, Virginia. Just started down a new career path. I'm a service advisor at a dealership, so I work hand in hand with customers, people relations. A year ago, I started off on a spiritual journey to get to a place of healing, a place of renewed energy. And just along this path, I've met certain individuals as Giselle and certain others. And I'm just about building relationships, strengthening, and just growing to the next level.
Yes. Thank you. I mean, you already can have an idea. I brought men with different backgrounds, okay, because I want to make sure that we have a diverse perspectives on their Black experiences as Black men in America. So please, thank you for, again, welcoming these kings. And I want to start with the first question, okay? What is Black masculinity? That is your personal definition. What is Black masculinity?
I'd say like in the modern world, right? That Black masculinity is that thing we all walk around with. We all look different, we all feel different, we all have different interests. But at the end of the day, we know when we step out of the door that the reference that will be viewed with, the lens, is that of a Black male. And the idea of being a Black male comes with a few different qualifications, considerations, lists of things to avoid, lists of things to make sure that you're doing on point. It's just the total, in my opinion, it's the total sum of what it means to step out of the door into this world and be a Black male.
No, that's a good summary. Jeff, you want to take it away?
Or like add to that. When we think of like masculinity, femininity, kind of like defining characteristics or like traits. So when you say like, for me, like Black masculinity, okay, defining characteristics, traits of like a Black male. that we view as like exemplary? Like what kind of is the standout for a black masculine male? What kind of energy, what kind of actions convey to you that okay, this is someone that is a black male?
Yeah, okay, okay. And Marcia.
So, my personal definition of black masculinity would be strong, vibrant. I wouldn't say aggressive, but you have to be, you have to be sure about what you're doing, where you're at. You have to be, I don't want to say a force to be reckoned with, but people have to know your energy before you open your mouth. They have to know that you're a person with certain qualities, distinction of characteristics. Like you have to bring a certain energy to a place, a certain void, a certain area before you actually step into the place. So, being a black male, it comes with, case in point, a lot of responsibilities, a lot of tasks, but yeah, it is. It's a very strong role. So
I like how all of you the definition kind of ties together. It's even though it's different points of view, I can see it coming together that overall black masculinity is how you show up to the world as a black man and what is your role as a black man in society in this world. So that's good. So now what is vulnerability? And then we're going to talk after how both of those things tie with each other and what were some of the struggles that you guys have encountered with black masculinity and vulnerability. So what is vulnerability to you?
I would say that vulnerability is, I guess in this case specifically for a black man, but would be the ability to be open and transparent, to let people see parts of you that, like my brother Marcia said, have to be strong, but still have to be open and still have to be loving. I'm using the word have. I guess that's my own personal lens of what it means to be vulnerable, to be fully authentic and vulnerable. But yeah, I guess to keep it really brief, just that ability to be open and at a certain level show what could potentially take away from your image as the perfect, strong, but firm black man, and that could jeopardize your, in this culture, your reputation, your stigma, your you know
Yes, that's so good. Jeff, what you got to say about vulnerability?
Yeah, well, vulnerability is like really like just being able to, yeah, be open to be hurt. Like you think of like armor. Armor is there for like protection. So, um, taking down like the walls and like like what does it take for you to be able to be exposed to something either helping or hurting you? If you have like armor on, you can't put on like lotion. Like the skin's not going to receive it if there's that barrier. So vulnerability is like, okay, what what things do I need to do to be able to be open and exposed to whatever good or bad may come?
Yes, yes. What about you, Marcia?
okay, so myself, I was kind of writing some stuff down. So I feel like you have to be vulnerable in like two different areas, like physically, well, excuse me, I'm gonna expand out a little bit more. Physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And like each one of these areas have like their own kind of like common denominators. Physically being vulnerable with the opposite sex or even with the same sex, like saying things or, exposing things about yourself, like it can put you in a state where you may be scared to say things. Also being emotionally vulnerable, like the one thing that, men get harped on about, crying or just facial expressions, like to get to a point to expose that, like you have to be okay with getting looked at kind of differently. You have to be okay with getting looked at like, man, like what's wrong? Like people may think there's something wrong with, but we're all like created equal. Like we all feel stuff. Like if I fall and cut my leg, I'm gonna bleed. It's gonna hurt. I'm probably gonna say ouch. Like stuff happens. Now on the spiritual spectrum, this kind of gets a little bit touchy because I have a group of other black males that I coerce with every Monday where we're connected spiritually. And the things we talk about, like I can only talk to them about. I can't talk to other people about because we're not on the same spiritual, wavelength. So being being vulnerable in those areas, like there's a time, there's a place, there's certain individuals, there's groups that you can be vulnerable to, but ultimately it's about being okay to be vulnerable in those areas.
I love it. I love it. Vulnerability has different spectrums, different levels to it, um, different levels to it. Like you said, Marcia, spirituality, being vulnerable, emotionally, physically, mentally. That's so true. So now that you kind of gave your definition, your personal definition on what vulnerability is to you and what black masculinity is to you. Now I want to talk about the beliefs that were embedded and forced on you to believe, that of course may have worked for you or not worked for you, meaning toxic beliefs or healthy ones. So what were some of these beliefs? Let's talk about the toxic ones first, that were embedded in you about black masculinity and how vulnerability comes in hand.
Well, I'll open up and say, like, a lot of the times, one of the toxic beliefs is like, like black masculinity is one-sided. It's one spectrum. It's the tough. Like when we were defining it, a couple of people said, like, like, all right, what you have to do, what be not aggressive, but in charge and command. So I think a lot of times, like, people forget that it can be like something with multiple sides to it. A lot of times people view it as just one-sided. Okay, black masculinity is X at all times, doesn't matter where you're with or who you're with. So Marcia brought it out really good, like, when it comes to like being vulnerable or like just being like human, who you're with, where you're at, should change how you act. Not in terms of like you changing your whole personality and trying to like code switch or like respond to certain people, but yeah, when you're with your family, you might be, a little bit more like open, closer like to like talking to them. Does that mean you're not black masculine if you're, crying with your mother? You know, as opposed to like a lot of times people view, okay, you need to always be this like strong, um, kind of stark figure.
Yes.
I was waiting on you, Marcia, so I'll hop in. I think Jeff really hit the nail on the head. I love the way he explained that. And he brings to my mind images. We think in terms of images. So I think of images like a lot of what culture pushes, specifically in my case, where I'm from, being in Florida, being from the South Side in a smaller Florida area, there was a lot of that pervasive culture in extremes. You were either the trappiness, ready to go do a bid and then come back and go do another one if that's what it takes, because you're gonna get yours, you're gonna get your money, you're just gonna get. Or the other side where you're walking around with this real tough armor on. You got to be the hardest, ready to go at any moment. You're that guy, you're the shooter, you're everything. But then on the other extreme, if you're the businessman, you got to be this like OBJ, you play football, you dance, you rap, you you got business, you got investments, you're the super black man. Or else you fall into this really weird space of that, not underachieving, but what in my environment was perceived as this lame. You don't meet up to any of the criteria, so you're just this lame black dude that you probably like this, you probably watch this, you probably act like this, things that now are glorified today. But really, just like Jeff said, the extremes where there's not the ability to have your complexity viewed. Someone who has many rooms, they want you to be one dimensional, or not they, but that's the perception I grew up experiencing and seeing. One dimensional. Are you not black masculine because you cried with your mother? You know.
Wow, wow, that's powerful. Marcia.
Okay, time to give you my lowdown dirty secret. So, myself, I kind of grew up awkwardly, and I say awkwardly because I grew up predominantly by my mother and my grandmother. Like my father, he was in and out of my life at a certain point, but he didn't really come back in my life fully until I was like a pre-teenager. So, case in point, as a preteen, like you shaped and kind of painted your picture of how the world is kind of already developed in your eyes. So myself, when my father came back in my life, I really didn't have a whole lot of man characteristics instilled inside of me. I had more of women characteristics instilled inside of me. And one key thing I remember my grandmother telling me growing up was treat people how you want to be treated. Now, fast forward this point in life, I realize now treating people how you want to be treated. It's a sweet saying. It's very culturally, good, but the truth be told, the truth be told about the matter is treating people how you want to be treated. That's exactly right. But as a black male, it doesn't always go down the same way you want it to. Like there's what do they say? It's a double side to the coin. It's a double edged sword. For every good thing, there's always a bad side effect. Like so, me, the one characteristic that I have obtained since growing up was being brutally honest to people. Now, being brutally honest to people as a child, like a child will be like 100%, you know, hand on the Bible oath, like brutally honest with you. But as an adult, being honest, especially in my expertise field, like it kind of cripples me a lot because people don't want to hear that type of brutal honesty. But how I grew up, that's just how I am. So I battle with it every single day. Like I it sometimes it leaves me in an awkward space where I was like, man, I don't want to really talk to people because being honest kind of puts me in a box. It leaves me like trapped, and it shouldn't be that way, but some people can handle the truth and then some people can't. Me myself, like you can tell me the brutal honest truth all day long and I'll still like continue going on about my business because it's kind of how I grew up. Like I just learned stuff like that because like I said, I learned from my grandmother and my mother. So when it comes to black masculinity, I really didn't obtain that until I got into my adult age. But vulnerability, I learned about that very early on, very early on.
That's good. That's good because what I'm hearing is that you're saying some of the beliefs that have been embedded in your lives are coming from different lenses. Like for instance, you were raised by women, right? And not having that male figure that could have given you that male perspective, especially that father perspective as a black man, right? Born from a black man, created by a black man. You need to be guided by a black man, right? Both roles are essential, of course, right? That's why we come from a mama and a daddy, but at the same time, both are needed. So I like how you're saying there is this imbalance of what has been embedded in you because then you don't know how to navigate it in life because you don't know where is the balance between what is okay to do and what is not okay to do. Now, this goes to my next question about grief when it comes to vulnerability, right? What are some of the traumas that you guys have had to endure or surpass because of being black or being a black man?
For me, like for example, like when we had like a lot of like the like Black Lives Matters movement coming about it, like I had I think back to like the like Trayvon like Martin like shooting. Like I had like one of my school teachers. I was in high school at the time. Like you know, a lot of was coming out of like oh okay like black parents tell their children watch out whenever the police come and like I had one of my teachers ask them like she was like oh is this stuff true? Have you had your parents tell you when a police officer comes to watch out and be careful? Because I've never told my children. And I told her I was like yeah no it is true. Like my parents have told me the police come yeah, you need to be extra cautious and be extra careful. So for me, when it comes to like being able to like grieve, like sometimes when instances like the like shootings happen and stuff, you hope for better, but sometimes it's hard to see like that kind of like solution in like sight. So like, you also feel like a little bit like deeper, just in the sense that you're like there was like the show that I like Grownish that I watched, and like they like kind of addressed like the matter, and they had like one of the characters running across like the block and going to like the convenience store, and it was like mirroring a shooting that had happened. And they were like, it could have been him, it could have been any one of us. So it just makes it that much like harder sometimes to like live in the reality of like, okay, like grieving something and also like being alert and like not letting like grief like consume you from staying actionable, staying like alert, So I think sometimes there's grieving, but sometimes there's not full grief, you know?
I'm gonna piggyback off what Jeff said. I think he really nailed it. When he said that, part of the culture is you're able to grieve, but that can't keep you from being actionable and moving on to the next step because, there's still so much real stuff going on. At least the way I grew up in the environment around me, it's like you're grieving something that really was senseless, something that you're still trying to grasp. Like, whoa, this is even possible. People even die at this age. Like, whoa, it's on that scale of like just it doesn't make sense. You're trying to fathom it, you're trying to wrap your mind around it, but still you have to be actionable. You have to be strong. You still have to go in that same community and stand strong because that can't stop the show. Part of I think what's been so pervasive in Black culture as a whole is yeah, these huge, tremendous things are happening. There are wrongs happening. There are things we know aren't right, but we just got to keep on going. And I was talking to someone this morning who said it's important whenever you're after a goal, it's important to see that there's an end, to know there's an end in mind. And I think that part of the Black vulnerability is there's no end in mind, so to speak. It's a continuation, it's a perpetuation. And if you're aware and tuned in at whatever level you choose to be, but if you're aware and tuned in at a level that you feel connected and you're seeing things a little bit differently, it can feel really ongoing in a sense. And it's almost like catching your breath to take the next step to keep running the race, but you just don't know, okay, and do I need to take 3 more breaths before I cross the finish line, or am I just going to fall out here? Because I got to keep going, and something else might come even bigger, but I can't be too open about it. I can't, like my brother Marcia said, I can't tell too many people. There's only a handful of people who I can really express this to, because should I take this to another community within my own community of Black men, that might get me blackballed. That might put me on the radar where now I'm weak and going to be projected and exposed as this weak person within my own community while still trying to grieve and still trying to get footing. So that's where my stance is on that, just perpetual, like Jeff said, partial grieving.
I'm going to piggyback off of what Brandon said. So I had this thought come to me, and I ask myself this question sometimes when it comes down to what I'm doing, and the question is it for me, the individual, or is it for the group? And the reason why I ask myself that question is because when it comes to the statue of like the Black male, the Black masculinity, sometimes us as individuals, we do things and we're not selfish by nature, but sometimes we're like, well, man, like I'm tired of like putting the effort in, doing the work. Like, when am I gonna get my reward? But you have to think soul and heartedly down the line, like, is this for the individual or is it for the group? Now I'm gonna hit some personal stuff. So with myself, last year I took a couple losses, and I'll say more than just grief. Like I kind of had some nervous breakdown moments because there was a lot of stuff going on in my life. I lost my father. That was one thing. I went through a divorce. Like my mother had a stroke, and just trying to like hold all this, or not even hold it in, like trying to hold up my family surrounding me and still like navigate my way through all this stuff was like, man, I was like, when is the pain gonna end? Like when am I gonna get to the victory line? When am I gonna get to the point of saying, okay, I made it? And last year I couldn't see myself in this seat right now doing this show, talking to all of you. I couldn't see myself doing this. But the one thing I told myself was, it's not about me, it's about the group, it's about the people who are looking at me from a distance that I don't know who these people are, but there's people looking at me. So I have to man up. I have to take upon myself to be the leader of the pack, and get stuff done and keep moving forward. So with myself, it's sort of like I put myself in the seat where it's not about the individual all the time. Sometimes it's about the group. It's more about all of us as a whole making it than just myself just coming out of the mist saying like, okay, well I made it. Everybody else, they'll catch up when they can. Like, sometimes you have to put the group before yourself. Like, just to be honest with you.
But now the problem here is how do you balance and how do you know when one is too much, right? How do you keep that balance between, okay, this is the right space for me to let down my guard and breathe because I'm human and I need to recharge and I need to cry and I don't always have to be this strong, tough man, right? But then also knowing when it's the right time that you need to show up as that strong, tough man because those roles are needed, right? So how do you kind of work to make sure that you take care of your mental health and keep that balance between when to be tough and when to know it's okay to be soft because there's strength in both? I'll start with you, Jeff.
Honestly, I have to say, like, it's a like a trial by like fire, like trial and like error. There's no meter on like the like the back of my hand that I can kind of like look to. Okay, things are getting too much, things are getting too little. And like one thing like a friend of mine always said is, you got to keep moving forward. And like I didn't like really fully like quite get what he meant, but then like as we like talked more, because like I was like going through some stuff and I was like, all right, I'm stressed about this, I'm dealing with that, family, housing, just a few different things like were coming up at once, and I was like, okay, I still need to show up for my clients, I still need to like deliver when it comes to like business, like the business doesn't run if I'm not there training someone, um and like moving forward gets you fast, because like you were saying, like the more you stop, the more it catches up, you know um and being able to like move forward helps you kind of like push yourself up at like times, but like you need to have kind of like your own triggers that you like watch out for, like, okay, am I lashing out at like my friends, like that's like a clear sign that like, okay, things are a little too much right now, what can I do to like alleviate that? For me, that might be, okay, cool, like, all right, I'm taking this morning off, all right, to like reach out to my clients, hey, can we reschedule your training sessions so another time, another date? And like, does that make like a little bit more work for me? Yeah, all right, I might have to train the Saturday, the Sunday, but like seeing, okay, where I'm at, and sometimes you do go too far and you're like, okay, now I'm overly burnt out, now other people are telling me like, hey, you need a break, so a lot of times it's like kind of like trial by like error, like I feel like, or trial by like fire, like finding that point of like, okay, this is getting too much, but then the next time realizing, okay, I'm gonna stop before I get a little bit closer to that and stuff. But thank you, thank you.
Giselle's question, when I guess when it becomes too much of a burden, how do you know how to like balance it? And I wrote down some key points here. So when you are weak spiritually, how to make yourself strong is you become a social advocate. You start socializing, you start speaking to people. You need to participate in groups. You need to start talking to either other like minded people, or you need to seek out other like minded people so you can strengthen yourself in the spiritual category. If you're weak mentally, how do you strengthen yourself mentally? You start working out physically. You build your body up. Eventually, once you build your body up, then mentally, you have the wherewithal to start learning new things. Like you have uh, the kind of like the creative energy to start like learning new things. Now, vice versa, when you're weak physically, then you start strengthening yourself mentally. You start reading, you start ingesting knowledge. When you start ingesting knowledge, because myself, last year I got to this point, I was like, man, I don't know how to kind of flip my physical health around, because all I knew was, well, just go to the gym, work out. Diet was kind of slack, off, terrible. But once I started reading and started ingesting, hey, look, you need to switch up your diet plan. You need to start going vegan a little bit. Once I educated myself on that point, what I did in the gym, like it just took off on a whole nother level. So in those moments when you are weak, the best way to balance stuff out is you have to strengthen yourself by doing the opposite. That's the only way to level the playing fields. So that's my take on it.
Sheesh. See, I'm blessed that I got to go third. Because I want to piggyback on what both of my brothers just said. Starting with what Jeff said, there is no like, oh, I need to adjust this. Oh, my phone alarm told me it's time to balance out my feminine side. It's a really trial by fire. And like we mentioned earlier, even if you have a Black man around in the home, around in the community, there's certain things that a king needs to teach a king so the king can become a king. And with that being said, I feel like it really is, you just got to keep living, balancing the masculine, balancing the feminine. You have to keep living, keep experiencing, trial by fire. Sometimes you make mistakes. Like a friend of mine, he said his grandma, her whole life, she said, just keep saying good morning. Just keep saying good morning. Keep living another day. You'll learn, you'll see, you'll fix it. And what my brother Marcia said, when you do realize, okay, I know I'm not right here. I know I was toxic here. I know I hurt some people here. I made some mistakes. I'm the problem here, not in a doom and gloom way, but I'm the problem. So what can I do next to balance it? And that's where I piggyback off what my brother said, building the mind, getting new information, disciplining the body, having access to people who are spiritually in a place that you aspire to be, or that you never thought you could be, or maybe that you don't even want to be in, but just that exposure to community, because it all comes back to the love of it. It all comes back to, okay, I know something's not right, but I care enough. I care enough. I have enough empathy that I want to do something better. So I'm not perfect right now. I just screwed this up. I just screwed that up, so to speak. But I'm going to take in some new information. I don't know what to do about this, but I'm going to work on it somehow. And I'm going to keep seeing what my results get me, what my community reflects back to me, and how my heart feels. One of the biggest things that we get taught to bury and just do away with. How does my heart feel? Probably the least asked question to a Black male, or any male for that matter.
That's good, because that's literally my next question, which is about this toxic belief that I seem to continue to come across when I do my research and I interview men. I keep hearing that same thing, that you need to toughen up and bottle it up and just show up, right? But so now my next question is, what is your advice on how to dismantle and break away from these toxic beliefs that are not helping you? And it's nothing to do with how you're showing up as a Black masculine man, because as you mentioned, Brandon, masculinity is not only one thing, right? You have a feminine side to you. Just like for women, we have our masculine and feminine side and portion. So what is a way to dismantle this beliefs that you have to constantly be showing up as this, do you get me? Take it away, Marcia.
So, when it comes to being a Black male, how I grew up, nonetheless, was sort of like, Black males in my family, they kind of drank, they carried on, they didn't really expose much of their, feminine side. They just did all the tough, rugged kind of manly things, working on cars, like I say, drinking, just being foul mouth, stuff like that. But eventually it came to a point where even in your darkest moments, your weakest moments, you develop a strength. You develop a strength inside yourself where you say, hey, look, I don't want to be this hard, brittle, very abrasive person anymore, because don't nobody like me, don't nobody want to hang out with me. Like, it's a lonely road when you get to the point where you start judging yourself. It's a lonely road. But eventually, in that darkest moment, is when you retain your strength, is when you get to the point saying, I need to change some stuff. And for me personally, I got there, like I say, last year, when there's so many bad things happening around me. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not a bad person, even though there's some bad stuff happening around me. And I was like, how do I get to the point when I start getting the rewards in life? Now, some people get it twisted when they say, well, okay, I'm gonna do this good thing, and I'm depending on this good thing to reap a reward. I'm depending on it. But in actuality, it doesn't happen like that. Like, there's delayed gratification. You could do one good thing right now, and you may not see the blessing from it until like a year, two, probably 3 years down the line. So I got to the point of, I'm going to do what's right, whether I see the reward or not in the physical right now. You can imagine, you can envision it, you can write it down. You're not going to see it right now, but in my eyes, I'm okay with that, because I'm doing the work, I'm doing the good deed, because it's what needs to be done.
Again, shout out to you, G, doing what you do, organizing this, executing it. Shout out to you. Something that I think, as far as how do we, like, what's the next step, big picture, like, ideally, I think there's three scenarios. The first would be the ideal case. Ideally, what would happen is the new young kings would come in under balanced masculine leadership, someone who has their feminine, masculine balance, two-parent household, healthy, loving, stable environment. They don't have to learn the ideas of scarcity and low self-esteem and trauma at a big high level. There's some things that can be avoided. That would, in my opinion, be the ideal case. Beautiful family raising a beautiful child to the best of their ability with love and intention. Then there's the middle ground, which I think is, well, I'll go straight to my experience. My experience was, how did I overcome all this? Years of learning, years of growing. I did have a two-parent household I'm very grateful for. And it had its own Caribbean influences, African American outside influence. It had its own stew. And in that, I walked my own path. You know, it was my choice, whether it was an unconscious choice, whether it was an executive decision made for me that became my choice to adopt the mindset of what I was placed in, or it was a conscious choice that, hey, I want to try this, I want to learn this. And in my situation, I just had to keep on walking and learning. And like my brother Marcia said, I reached a point where I'm like, okay, I'm not a bad person. I want to do good. I want to grow and elevate. I need new resources. I need to tuck myself away, and I need to get helped by other strong leaders, other people who have an intention, who can even teach me what does intention mean? We hear buzzwords like belief and intention and growth, but like, what does that actually mean? And the third scenario would be the middle ground between the two, where you didn't grow up in a perfect household, but you also don't have to go walk through some things. That's just not your journey. And I think that's where we're kind of all at as a collective, where you have what you got from your parental situation, you have what you got from your community personal situation, but we live in the information era, and there are tools. There are leaders like yourself who are taking the time to organize things like this so that brothers of all walks of life can get new information. There are men being vulnerable, like my brother Marcia and my brother Jeff, and they're saying, listen, this is how I had to figure it out. And to Marcia's point, building something bigger where the guys younger than us can come in and say, you know what? They did this, this, and this. We don't have to go that route. So my end all be all, what I believe is the core driver, no matter what you've been through, in my humble opinion, is that however you reach it, I believe there should be, not to use the word should, but I believe that there is a point where you say, I want to contribute to the well-being of something else. I want to contribute to my well-being, the well-being of others, and the well-being of the world, even if it's just my corner, my neighborhood. And I think that empathy of wanting to contribute to something on the outside, which I believe comes from a spiritual influence, you get sick, whether it's money or women or whatever gorged yourself on. You have to either go purge it somewhere, or you go through your process where you just want to change because you didn't have such an intense trauma that you have to change right now because you're just broken and have to build to even be able to walk through it. But I think that in the desire to want to contribute to the lives of others and the well-being of others, I think is really a platform that makes you go, okay, I got to get some new information, or not even got to, I get connected now. Now that I have the intention, I made the decision that I desire that, these things come into my world. And now I have strong brothers who teach me about intention and focus and leadership and fruit and discipline and longevity and consistency. And my boy sent me an interview with Kobe, and he said, man, that key ingredient is love. Love. When you have love, it's going to steer you one way or another. It's going to connect and guide you. So that's my thesis.
So good. This is so good. So if there is a young boy right now, young Black boy watching this video, what is something an advice that you can give them? Specifically, living in a world where everything is accessible and everything good and bad is there so quickly in the tips of your fingers. Just like there is toxic music, there is toxic media, there is so much, and being born also in an environment that may be very toxic. So you're surrounded by toxicity all around. What is something that you can say to this boy to know that it's not the end and that they have a chance to work on their Black masculinity while they are embracing their vulnerability and growing into the Black king that they are?
So the one thing I would say to the black young male watching this video would be don't give up. If times may seem hard, still don't give up because tough times never last, tough people do. I learned that when I was younger as well. But also, same way as I think now, like there's somebody watching me behind as well as in front of me. Like they're older individuals that I conversate with on a daily. They're way older than me. They have more wisdom than me. But at the same time, they're looking at me saying, "Well, we see what you're doing." I'm looking at them like I don't see what y'all see in me. But that's the thing about wisdom. Through different eye lenses, they see something you don't see, and same thing in reverse. When I look at younger black males, I see something they don't see. It's like a cultural shock. Like we all see something different. As far as you go up the ladder, there's wisdom that extends, surpassed itself. So I'm gonna see something different in the younger version. The older version of males are gonna see something different in me, and it's just gonna transcend. So don't give up. Always seek counsel. Seek to ask questions to higher officials, and love yourself and love others around you.
That's so good.
This is one that's so close to my heart. So if I was sitting face to face with a young black man right now, I'd say, "Little bro, I love you, bro. Just know that I love you first and foremost, bro." And I'm gonna be honest. You do live in a world that's a little different from the world I came up in, right? Your challenges are a little different, like Giselle alluded to. It's a perfect storm right now. You you got this device right here, bro. Whatever you want, whatever you want, whatever you like, it's available. What do you like? Drugs? You like women? You like food? You like cars? Whatever you want, bro. It can get you hit a couple buttons and it can be on its way to your door. So my biggest piece of advice, bro, would just be keep getting new information. Keep getting new information. Expose yourself to new information, bro, because you guys have the tools. You have the ability. I know you're smart. I see you. I see the work you put in. I know you've been putting work in. You wouldn't be here right now if you weren't smart. You've already overcome so many odds just to be here. You're sitting here talking to me about crypto. You're sitting here putting me on game and giving me, a little woo woo. And I see you, bro. You are intelligent. And bro, just stay free, bro. Do everything you can to stay free, man. Go take a couple steps outside your neighborhood, bro. Go see where those big houses are. Go see where the water is, because that's for you too. All that's available to you, bro. And you don't have to lose your freedom. I don't know what you believe in, little bro. You know what I believe in, because I'm gonna tell you what I believe in, little bro. But whatever you believe in, bro, everything is here for you. And as long as you keep working on your mindset, and as long as you keep staying free, as long as you stay free, you'll be straight. This little time will pass. Whether it's, you don't know how long your season will be, bro. But if you take one season and you give your heart and your mind completely to that thing you believe in and allow it to transform you and allow it to put you in front of some different people and some new ideas and some different energies, bro, I promise you, the whole world is yours, bro. And that little time that it takes, I know it might look like that season might be 10 years. It might be 10 days. It might be 10 months. You don't know how the things that work in your life are going to work. But go through that one little season, bro. Duck off, read some books, take some classes. Just keep growing, bro, and keep learning and keep staying free and keep living. Because I promise you, by the time you're my age, life will just be a bonus, bro. You can knock out these little couple years, have everything lined up for yourself, and the rest of your life be bonus years, bro. You don't have to go through all that other stuff that some of us had to get through. As a collective, a lot of our brothers paid the price so you could be here with an iPhone and an iPad and all this exposure and all these tools, bro. So just use it, bro, because it's here for you. It's here for you, bro. You're a king.
Oh my God. Sorry. Listen, whoever is watching, whether you're a black man or a black woman or whoever you are, just know that there are people that love you. There are people that are willing to help you. There are people that want to go that extra mile for you. Whether it is a family member, a stranger, a friend, it does not matter. You are not alone. And you have the right to make the choices that are going to benefit you. You don't have to follow what the mass is doing. You don't have to be doing and be participating in the toxic societal standards that have been implemented for all of us to be basically slaves to, okay? You don't have to keep doing the same thing. You can step outside of your comfort zone and create your own path. And that path is of excellence because you are a Black king and Black excellence, all right? So thank you for watching. Thank you. Oh my goodness. You guys are just, oh my God, handpicked.
Oh, man. You and shout out to you. Shout out to your obedience. You did this. You brought this together. You brought an idea to life. You brought the men together. My brother Jeff had to hop off. Shout out to Jeff over there in Boston. But everybody, squeezed time out of their schedule because of a vision that you created, a vision that you had. And you said, you know what? I'm not just going to talk about this. I'm going to set an intention. I'm going to reach out to these brothers. I'm going to send them a follow-up. I'm going to put a Zoom call together, and we're going to have this conversation so that brilliant men like my brother Marcia and my brother Jeff, myself, and you could get together and really talk about something that we need so desperately. Our kings need us. Our young men need us. I was telling my boy last night, I said, bro, there are a lot of people who need us, bro. And not in the sense of need or the cliche, I want to help, but there are people who we can and really should contribute to their well-being, bro, because they don't have some of the tools we had. I'm not going to get religious, but in the Bible, it talks about in the desert, in the wilderness, there were generations that were born who didn't know the God of their forefathers, who didn't see the miracles, and they were born into the ways of the wilderness. And as they went on, they forgot the stories. And a lot of our young people are being born into environments where the household is just everything. It's like Jumanji, where that scene where everything's in there. The upbringing, the traumas, the mixing of energies and just behaviors and everything. It's just all there. And then you have this young king, like a rose grown through the concrete, trying to dig roots down in sand and build something.
Amen. Yes. Yes.
So this is so needed. I applaud you and I honor you, and I just have the utmost respect and admiration for you beautifully and powerfully showing up today.
Yeah. Thank you. And I place my crown.
So I thank you.
Thank you. And
shout out to you, my brother.
Thank
sharing
you.
your vulnerable story, bro. You went in the weeds with us, bro. You held that down. That's what it looks like, bro. Shout out to you, for real.
Love it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, and thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button and share this video with a Black brother or a brother. It don't matter where they're from, okay? So let's empower each other and let's connect so that we can all rise up. Thank you.